treat him like he's North Carolina. Like, give him everything for free, nothing that he deserves. Hand him a free pass to everything in life, like your Bubba Cunningham and North Carolina. Screw Boise State. Screw the Mountain West. Never mind that UNLV's broke and the Mountain West is at a critical point financially. No, Jake it. You just give North Carolina a free pass into the NCAA tournament. Right, Jake?
Is anyone really surprised?
I actually am very surprised North Carolina's in. I think we talked about it on Thursday before you called in sick on Friday, that North Carolina had no business being in this tournament. And I look at the way that this played out. I think this is incredibly damaging for college athletics in general. I think what happened here was nothing short of thievery. What happened here is nothing short of railroading. And this does not even mention West Virginia, who we're going to talk about in a minute. Do you recognize the incredible damage that was done to the Mountain West in this scenario? Do you understand just how important the tournament shares are to every team in this tournament? And the fact that Boise State was not only good, they were an excellent team who absolutely belonged in the tournament and would have won tournament games. I think the long-term financial ramifications of keeping Boise State out, we don't even know what those look like yet.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that people are surprised because all anyone's looking at is resume. But I don't think that this is a resume conversation right now. Like putting UNC into the tournament is to me, was not as shocking as people are making it out to be, only because it's UNC. The tournament, always has Duke and UNC. ESPN loves Duke and UNC. TV partners love Duke and UNC. They want that story. And inevitably, when UNC loses its first game or somehow wins its first game and loses their second game, people are going to be talking about how they shouldn't have been in the tournament. So, and is it any surprise that Bubba Cunningham is chairing the committee that's making these decisions? No, it's not a surprise. So I think that yes, it is damaging to the Mountain West. There's no question about it. There's no question that it costs them money, obviously. But I think this is the luxury you get when you're UNC and you're that kind of brand. That is the free pass that we have seen play out multiple times in the college football playoff, now in the tournament. Like, we're seeing this happen more regularly.
Yeah, and I totally disagree. I think this was a railroad job. I think it is embarrassing. The frauds in the ACC continue to operate in a way that tells you they know that they're inferior. North Carolina has no business in the NCAA tournament, period. Full stop. That's it. That's the entire take. One quad one win, and you left out teams like West Virginia and Boise State. You have no resume. You have no big wins. You don't have elite talent. The ACC absolutely stole a spot in this NCAA tournament, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. And make no mistake, Bubba Cunningham, the athletic director at North Carolina, is the chairman of the NCAA Selection Committee for the NCAA tournament. And it's absolute thievery, and I don't want to hear about how Bubba Cunningham recused himself. Okay, great. If he recused himself, how did North Carolina get into the NCAA tournament? Because they committed one of the greatest frauds in the history of college sports. The fact that you left West Virginia and Boise State out of this tournament and you put North Carolina in is not only shocking, not only is it thievery, not only is it straight up absolute mask and gun, walk into a bank, take somebody else's money. All this is perpetuating a fraud against the fans of college basketball. I have watched every North Carolina game this year. I'm a huge North Carolina basketball fan. We have no business being in the NCAA tournament. It's as simple as that. And to me, the egregious victim here is the Mountain West. We're going to talk about UNLV in a few minutes. UNLV had their athletic director tell the Board of Regents, we're broke. And now what you're doing is you're keeping Boise State out of the tournament, who I have no doubt would have won at least one game and probably two. And you're taking financial shares away from them for at least 5 years, 6 years. You're doing real financial damage to the Mountain West while perpetrating this fraud. And I think it is absolutely terrible for college athletics. It's terrible for fan bases. It's terrible for a game that is already suffering as an afterthought in the boardrooms of college athletics. I don't know how you fix this. And frankly, I don't think you will fix it. I think it is absolutely abhorrent that the ACC was given a free berth into this tournament. This is one of the worst basketball leagues in the country getting a free pass with a really mediocre basketball team. And I think this will forever be a black day over the ACC and a black day over North Carolina. And listen, I understand that the ACC runs through Tobacco Road in North Carolina. I totally get all that. But you've got to at least have some kind of resume, some reason to put a team in the tournament. And frankly, I see none for North Carolina.
Yeah, and I just think things like this are going to continue to happen while we're in this position where schools have to make as much money as they can. I mean that's what this is. I mean, this is a ploy to money grab. I mean, I think we all agree with that, and that's why I'm saying, like, I don't disagree with the take that Boise State should be in or West Virginia should be in. I don't disagree with that at all. My point is more that this is more of the same of what we've been seeing in college athletics. We talk about it so much with the college football playoff about how the SEC and the Big Ten want to run things and want to get as many bids into the playoff as possible. And we're sitting here having the same conversation. Ward Manuel sitting on top of the college football playoff committee. I mean, that you can't have that type of conflict of interest. And this is exactly what that is. And so everyone is upset about this. But the question I have is, what's anybody going to do about it?
Nothing.
There's nothing to be done about it. Like people are sitting here being frustrated and upset, and I understand that. I'm not discrediting that at all, but I just think that this is what you're going to see a lot of. You're going to see people doing things that they typically wouldn't have had to have done in the last 5 years because they have to make money, because they've got rev sharing problems, they've got NIL problems, they've got all these things that cost money, and the ACC is lucky to get 4 in this year, right? You had to commit a fraud to get 4 in. Like that's a problem for that conference.
Yeah, I just don't see. There's nothing you're doing to fix this, but the Mountain West has got to put themselves in position to stop being a victim. They have no control over this, and we all sit here and we want to complain about humans, and this is what happens when you let Ward Manuel run the college football playoff. This is what happens when you let a thief, a fraud, a POS like Bubba Cunningham run the NCAA Selection Committee. This is what happens. They're a mediocre athletic department. He's a mediocre administrator, and you allowed him to be the chairman of the NCAA Selection Committee, and all of a sudden, a team that has zero business, not a little bit, not, hey, let's make an argument for it. There's no argument to be made for North Carolina to be in this tournament. None whatsoever. That they got 4 teams in this tournament is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And again, I go back and say, this is why college athletics is where it is. Because the Mountain West is in a position where they have no control. It doesn't matter how well they perform on the court. If Bubba Cunningham doesn't want Boise State in, they're going to get left out. And I would say the same thing for West Virginia in the Big 12. Somebody explain to me, how does West Virginia not get into the NCAA tournament? How is this resume, which is 10 to 15 times better than North Carolina, how is this resume being left out of the NCAA tournament in favor of North Carolina? How? And again, please, North Carolina fan, don't roll in here and tell me, because already on YouTube last night, North Carolina fan, well, Bubba wasn't involved in the North Carolina pick. Really? A team with no resumes, nothing. You're telling me that you think Bubba Cunningham had no influence in leaving West Virginia out of the tournament? Come on. It is This is money that you will not make back. This is money. That money is just gone now. Those tournament shares, gone. Somebody tell UNLV, why, Bubba Cunningham, you call UNLV and you tell them why they're not in the NCAA. You tell them why Boise's not in the tournament.
Yeah.
And you tell them how you're going to make those tournament shares hold. I have a feeling he's not going to do that.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's just a money grab situation. That's all this is this is people doing whatever the hell they feel like doing to go out and make as much money as they possibly can. And again, you talk about the Mountain West has to find a way to stop being the victim. I don't think there is a way. That's the problem. The system is literally rigged to allow the Bubba Cunninghams of the world to control their destiny. I mean, your best defense is, hey, we had one of the strongest non-con schedules. That's your best defense. That's the defense that I've seen rolled out repeatedly by UNC defender. Oh, well, we had a great non-con schedule and, we didn't win those games, but we had a great schedule. Strength of schedule is awesome. And I look at this and I just simply say, at some point, college athletics cannot be decided by humans that represent the entities involved. So you can't have Bubba Cunningham sitting on top of the committee. You can't have Ward Manuel on top of the committee. You either have to have a third party solution, a third party that has very clear instructions that everybody's on the same page with about how they evaluate teams and the qualifications to get in or not get in, making these decisions, or you have to go back to something formulaic. Like I don't know what it's going to be, but this is twice now we've had ACC teams either get in or not get in, and it's been a massive issue.
Like, how is Texas in the tournament?
No idea.
But how would they have gotten left out? It's the SEC. And I don't even disagree with Greg Sankey, who I know on this show is the devil. I totally understand it. I don't even disagree that the SEC is in the spring of its manhood. That might be a little strong and awkward at the same time. But you're the best football conference in the country, and I don't think there's even a conversation that you are the best basketball conference in the country.
Right.
I think it's awfully hard to look past what Greg Sankey said the other day about the history that conference is making. But Texas can in no way be in this tournament if West Virginia is not in the tournament. North Carolina in no way can be in this tournament if West Virginia is not in this tournament. And yet here we are. And I just don't, I agree with Greg Sankey. It's a unicorn league right now in the SEC. Right. And maybe I can justify it a little more when we get into a place where Greg Sankey's talking about this being a unicorn league. Is he wrong? He's not wrong. I will continue to fight you over it. And you look at the seedings, 1 through 68. There's a lot of SEC in there. There's a lot of Big Ten in there. And I mean, you get 14 teams in this tournament. That's domination. You took 14 of 68 spots.
Yeah.
Right. And but this is the one that should really bother you for the most part, because the Big 12 should have 8 teams in this tournament. And it is redonkulous to me that as we go through these brackets and we start looking at some of these matchups, I don't think there's any doubt Houston, dominant team, but Houston's not the one I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah.
Right. You start looking at some of these seedings, like Louisville's got a legitimate case of being pissed at being at an 8 seed, right? Well, I totally get that. Texas in as an 11 seed?
A 19-win team.
Is in the NCAA tournament, right? Like, okay, you look at somebody who's Duke, number 1, 31-3. No doubt about it. Texas is in and West Virginia's out? Texas is in and Boise's out?
Yeah, and this is the type of behavior that I feel like has dominated the conversation for a minute, where it's like, hey, the SEC, and it's funny we're talking about the ACC doing this, right? Because I feel like the ACC hasn't been great in football, obviously, now they're not great in basketball, and we're talking about UNC getting in when they don't deserve it. But ultimately, again, I can't get away from this concept as we look at these brackets and as we talk about this, that people are going to do whatever it takes to grab any spot that they can get. So like in the SEC, I agree. You can write it off a little bit, right? You can write it down a little bit and say, well, Texas is a bubble team, right? Iffy team. They got in. Okay. It's the SEC though, really deep league. Like, Texas has a better case. But the problem is when you look around the bracket, you look at the teams that didn't get in. You look at the shares that conferences are not going to get. And while the Mountain West is the poster child for this with Boise State, I would agree that the Big 12 only having 7, and then on the other side of that, the ACC getting to 4 through this behavior, that's where I have the biggest issue. Because again, we shouldn't be talking about the ACC having 4 teams in. We should be talking about either the Big 12 or the Mountain West having 8 or 5 teams in, and how it was a great year for those 2 conferences. It's how they've improved and how they're moving forward. But yet here we are talking about the ACC or another power league committing a fraud, committing an issue, and that's what's dominating the conversation. So no, it's not a Duke problem. It's not a Houston problem, an Auburn problem, a Florida problem. We don't have a 1 seed issue in this conversation. We have a corruption issue in college athletics problem. We have a Bubba Cunningham and Ward Manuel and anybody else making decisions that are supposed to be for the betterment of college athletics. Because, right, we can all agree that's what they're tasked with, putting together a tournament that is compelling, that benefits the majority, that is proper, that is fair, that is allegedly unbiased. That's what they're supposed to be doing. But instead, what do we have? We have super biased, excluding the little guy, and money grabbing. That's the best way I could describe it. I don't know what else you would call this other than Bubba Cunningham and the ACC money grabbing on the heels of the settlement, right? Because that's the other thing that I think about. You just went through this settlement as a conference. And what did we get out of the settlement? Well, the settlement, the whole concept was, hey, well, you got to have, 5-year rolling average, TV ratings. Essentially, you got to win to get paid.
Yeah.
And now what behavior are we seeing following that conversation? So that's where I'm like, gosh, it is a shocking headline to read. But then when you get into it, you're like, yeah, maybe this isn't so shocking. Maybe this is the type of thing that we should start to expect until we get either, again, as Brett Yormark talked about last week, an expanded, tournament to 76 teams or some type of change to the format.
But I think a lot of people want to vilify the SEC. And I'll just go to a couple of Greg Sankey tweets. There's no getting away from this. Look at this number. 75%. The SEC was the first conference since the ACC in 83-84.
Yeah.
1983-84, before any of you were even boiling in the bag.
Right.
To have every team achieve a non-conference winning percentage of 75% or better. And, of course, here's where he wholly ate the ass out of Danny Cannell. Probably a little much this early. Anyway, the point is the smartest man in basketball is saying out loud what I've been thinking for the past 3 months. This is Ken Palm saying the SEC is overrated. I'm going to say that they're not overrated, right? Like,
stay hard.
So the SEC is not your problem.
No.
If the SEC gets the benefit of the doubt in Texas, okay. If it was just Texas, okay. But then how do you explain North Carolina?
And I would even go as far as to say the Texas thing is a healthy conversation for the bracket.
Yes.
Like the Texas thing is like,
I would agree with that.
19-win team, this is going to come down to how you view their resume, right? And how if you ask Bob or Steve, you're going to get a different answer, right? Like it comes down to how you view them. But the problem is you're getting into a spot where you have a team in UNC that has no stake to the tournament. There is absolutely nothing that says UNC should have gotten into this field. And again, it is, I have to say, I'm not even a massive college basketball fan, right? Like I'm someone, I really enjoy college football. Obviously, the NFL goes without saying, but when we get into this time of year, March Madness in the bigger picture really should be something that is, enjoyable, right? It should be something that we all look forward to, right? It should be something that you're in the office at the water cooler comparing, brackets that you guys printed out, right? Like that's what this is supposed to be about for the masses. Instead, we're getting a story about how a team got in that has no business being in. And for the folks who follow college basketball closely, you know that your mind is not on BYU and VCU as a first-round matchup. Your mind is on UNC got in when West Virginia should have got in or Boise State should have.
I think Boise State is the aggrieved party here.
Yeah.
I understand the West Virginia should have been in the NCAA tournament. But the real world implications of Boise State getting left out are too much to overlook.
Yeah, and I have to say, does the committee not take into account what's going on? Like,
damn.
Like, and this is the part that kind of upsets me a little bit. This is the part that really bothers me. Is to your point, not only did you put Bubba on top of this committee, and not only did UNC have a dog crap year, we all know that, and they shouldn't be in, but then you put them in. And by putting them in, you axed Boise State when you damn well know what's going on with the Mountain West and the Pac-12.
How many teams got in from the Pac-12 this year?
Oh,
that's right.
None. Better send those refunds.
None, right? And so now with the exiting members, Colorado State got it. Like you know damn well.
Yeah.
The damage that was done to the Mountain West. And then there is this UNLV story. And I think this plays right into it. Do you buy that UNLV is broke? I don't necessarily believe that. I have talked to a lot of people at UNLV, but look at the Review Journal, Las Vegas Review Journal. Erick Harper, who I think is a really good athletic director. He's the AD at UNLV. Misspoke last week when he told the Board of Regents that his department only had funds to pay for the first 2 years of Dan Mullen's contract. UNLV said in a statement that Harper made the comments with incomplete information. UNLV Athletics can fulfill all of its coaching contracts. To clarify, multiple funding sources cover the costs of all athletic department salaries, including revenue, philanthropy, conference revenue distribution, and direct and indirect institutional support. In other words, yeah, we're broke, but there's money coming in. Do you understand now why leaving Boise State out of this tournament? Where do their tournament shares go? Do you guys understand that every game you win, you get a larger tournament share? And do you understand they spread those tournament shares out over, I believe it's a 6-year period? So is Boise taking that money to the Pac-12 when they go to the Pac-12?
Nope.
No, it stays in the Mountain West. And keeping them out of the NCAA tournament does real damage to Boise and everybody else that's currently in the Mountain West. Where's UNLV?
Oh, that's right.
They're in the Mountain West.
That's right.
And we're having real world conversations about, hey, UNLV can't pay Dan Mullen if they fire him today. Never mind, UNLV fired Kevin Kruger the other day.
Yeah.
Which wasn't the easiest financial decision to make, but why did they do it? Because that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to belabor the point.
But I think it's a good one. I mean, at some point, the conversation of, like UNLV is a good example, just generally speaking. Like I think if we wind the clocks back and you go back to
let's wind the clocks
back. You wind the clocks back and you look at the NIL situation.
Let's wind the clocks back a year.
You think about, hey, well, because everyone asks, well, hey, if they can't afford to pay their coaches, right? When this story first came out, if they can't afford to pay their coaches, is that why the Sluka thing happened? And a lot of people speculated about that. And I'm not sitting here saying UNLV is broke. What I'm sitting here saying is that if you're having conversations about whether you can or you can't, you need to make more money. And the idea that
I agree.
That the Mountain West got stiffed here with the Boise State situation is absolutely brutal. And so it goes without saying that now, because of this conversation, I'm looking at this bracket differently now. Now you're forcing me to watch Colorado State. You're forcing me to watch New Mexico, right? You're forcing me to watch San Diego State and understand, hey, well, how many games are these teams going to win? Can each of those teams win one game? I mean, obviously, I would expect them to. Right?
I would expect them to as well.
I mean, you would think that they would be able to win a game or two each. Like that would be obviously ideal for the Mountain West. But let's say that it's an awful year and they get shut out, right? Like let's say that they do what the Big 12 did last year, where the Big 12 just got pounded in the tournament last year and had an awful run. Like that can't happen for the Mountain West. And so again, I just want to keep hammering the point home that these power conferences, right, the P4, they have this inherent advantage where they define the conversation. They are the ones that can force a square peg into a round hole with UNC. They are the ones that can say, no, actually, Boise State, screw you. We're UNC. We're getting in and you're not. And that's the problem right now.
And before we get to the comments section, I just ask you to be nice to Jake. Okay. Not only is he sickly and, he's on the way out. Let's be honest. Every day his life gets shorter.
In
right?
God's name, image, and likeness.
He did text me last night and say, are we going to do I Told You So Monday? And I said, well, no.
We never do that on this show, by the way. I mean,
we would never tell you how right we are. So wait,
dude.
Let me single you up here.
Yeah.
Or wrong one. Let me single you up here.
Stay hard.
Go ahead
who told you? Who told you that Auburn's the best team in the country, bro?
Pat you on the back here.
Yeah, can you? Yeah, thanks. Put me on the back. Yeah. Who told you that Auburn was the best team in the country? Okay.
Sorry, that was
impressive.
who
told you
that was your face.
That Auburn and Bruce Pearl don't call me cursing on ESPN, dropping P bombs about his point guard is the best team in the country. Like,
as soon as it came out, oh, I told you so.
Hey, I want my Dayquil flowers, bro. Cough it up.
Did you take your Dayquil today?
No, I did not.
No, you didn't.
Nope.
Jerk. All right, let's get into the comments section. Please hit the like button. We appreciate that everybody is here. The like button helps the channel grow. Don't forget April 1st, we're going to afternoons. We'll be back.
Yeah. Didn't we pass 150,000 subs?
Probably.
Is that correct?
We don't talk about ourselves on this show unless we're naked.
Sorry.
Which I don't know why we would be.
So I said, yeah.
But, funny enough, when I was in the shower this morning naked, I was thinking about BYU VCU, which is probably an honor code violation at the time.
My bad.
I think BYU is not going to win that game. I was trying to look at that matchup and find a way to pick BYU. I think BYU got the nastiest first round draw in the entire tournament.
Dude, live by the 3, die by the 3. It's that simple. They will have to shoot it well to win that game.
Dude.
Yeah.
VCU is legit.
Yeah.
Legit. That is going to be that's going to be a ball buster. All right. Ferris, I don't know what you said. You already got filtered. Ferris already not even
oh, well, Monty, Michigan should have had a higher seed. This is ridiculous.
No, it's probably that he ran on with some BS about. So I was reading the filtered comments and Ferris, I did not know this until yesterday afternoon when I made the fateful decision to read our filtered comments because
Vexes me.
You don't give a rat's ass about this. Yeah. Behind the scenes on Jitab, they give you a section where all of your filtered comments go because they filter comments for you. So if you see somebody put in timeout or filtered, we have no role in that, right? You just see it happen while we're on the show and So I was reading the filtered comments, and apparently every day, because it gets filtered almost every day.
Right.
Ferris comes in here and says it's been X amount of days since Ohio State beat Michigan. So when you come in and say the same thing
Come on,
repeatedly, number one, it's obnoxious and nobody wants the same comment every day. So YouTube filters you.
Yeah.
So
Good job, dude.
Ferris, I don't know what you I don't know what you said, but you probably earned that.
Boom. Out of here.
Yeah. So Ferris, I'm just telling you, next time you come in, because I think you're on strike 2, because they also give you like a strike, just so you guys know. When you continue to say things that get filtered, you're on a strike system.
Yeah, you're on the watch list, you know?
And they will put your full account in timeout. I think when you run out of opportunities, your full account goes in the timeout. So Ferris, I'm just telling you, man. Here's Ferris right here. So apparently you're back. So I'm guessing you probably got a 10-second timeout. Because there are also, like, you can get a 10-second timeout, a 5-minute timeout,
There's
a 5-day.
layers to the game, you know.
People are saying that it's unjust that Michigan has a lower. No, nobody's saying that. Nobody is saying that, and nobody.
I didn't even know you commented that when I trolled you, bro.
Nobody
Here
cares.
you are.
Nobody cares. Good Lord. Jay Chapman, get the pitchfork and torches out. We're going to Bubba's house.
Dude,
It's
It's a crime, bro.
And that's putting it mildly.
Yeah.
That it is a crime. UW fan Jim, I know it sucks, but this is why people sue. It is why people sue.
But again, the thing is, like, so in college football, we have at least smoke around like the Super League and the format changing and, taking the humans out of it. But in the tournament, that's not the conversation. The tournament is just whether they're going to expand it or not. There's no conversation around, like completely reforming this situation. And that's the part that worries me is that as the landscape in college basketball changes and really the financials of college athletics change, how many times are we going to see something like this on a yearly basis? Like, is this going to be a more regular thing moving forward where you have a team get in that's just, I hate to say it, but is a fraud. Like you shouldn't be in the tournament, but yet you're in.
Yeah. I guess so. Vlad Kristmanov.
Okay,
I'm going to read a non-member comment.
You're playing with fire here, bro.
And usually that does not end well on this show.
Right.
Thank you to, like all of our guys that give out memberships. If you're a non-member on this show, I don't even know what to say. Boise State didn't deserve to get in.
Here we go.
Well, we can just stop right at didn't deserve to get in. They have one of the best resumes. Yeah, anyway. Based upon last year's performance by the Mountain West. Okay, we'll move on. Jay McClanahan. The SEC had 14 of 16 teams in the tournament. Some teams had 6-12 conference records, 6-12. But I think it's your overall, and again, I go to this right here.
Yeah.
And we can sit here and we can fantasize about how, the SEC doesn't belong. But 75% of their teams I can't even say this out loud. It's so stunning. 75% of their teams achieved a non-conference winning percentage. Or hi. The SEC was the first conference since the ACC in 84 to have every team win 75% of their non-conference games or better.
Let me put this in perspective for you, because I think it's
75% of their non-conference games.
It's a fair point that you make, Jay, where it's like, hey, you had a bunch of these teams be, 6-12. Like Texas is 6-12 in conference. Here's the deal with that, though. You've got every team in the SEC, all the teams that got in, except 2, LSU and South Carolina, be 19 wins or better. And we talked last week about 20 wins being a bar, right? And everyone said, oh, well, hey, 20 wins isn't what it used to be. But if you're looking at the SEC, it's hard to get away from the fact that, Texas is a mediocre SEC basketball team right now. But even at that point, you can still make the case that, hey, they have a better resume overall than this guy or that guy or whatever.
185 wins
Yeah.
against 23 losses.
And what you guys should be talking about,
185 and 23 in non-conference games.
What you should be talking about is the fact that the SEC as a conference right now is playing really poor basketball heading into the tournament. The only team in the SEC that's really playing good basketball is Florida. They've won their last 6.
Yeah.
Everyone else outside of, let's see, Vanderbilt even Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's lost their last 3. Everyone else that got into the tournament lost their last game, at least. So outside of Florida. So to
the bar's been raised.
Yeah, the bar has absolutely been raised. And I think we have the answer to the question of where does a 20-win team rank in terms of importance right now. And I think, like at 19 to 20 wins, you're still able to get in, but you got to have a great resume. And this is where I agree. When you're playing in the SEC, I don't have a problem with, hey, we play in the SEC. Our conference is way deeper and way better than the ACC. We should get in over X. Like, I don't have an issue with that. I have an issue when an ACC team wants to say, hey, we had a terrible year. We played nobody in the ACC, and our non-con, we didn't win any of those games, but we had a great non-con schedule. Okay, so I agree with the guys on ESPN this morning that you've never heard of, rolling out the takes of, hey, well, can you just schedule your way into the bracket now, even if you don't win the games? Because that's kind of the message you're sending.
Do you guys understand that Florida won 30 games?
Like, that's a wild number, dude.
They beat Tennessee in the SEC championship game. Tennessee won 27 games. Like, the SEC is not your issue.
Do you understand your best Big Ten team, Michigan State, is only a 27-win team? And I say only. Like, just to put it into perspective, dude.
I still maintain Texas shouldn't have been in the tournament. But that's not nearly as egregious as North Carolina. It's not. Ryan Willie, UNC took 1 from the SEC. Well, maybe. The Hawaiian golfer. Jake here telling us that the SEC doesn't deserve the amount of spots they've gotten clearly shows how little college basketball Jake has watched this year. But I don't blame him. He watches more golf.
Well, I didn't say that they didn't deserve those spots. That's not what I said.
I don't think that's what you said.
I never said that, dude. What I'm saying is that I'm saying the exact opposite of what you're accusing me of here. I'm saying that Texas does deserve that edge because they do play in the SEC.
They get the benefit of the doubt.
They get the benefit of the doubt.
And remember, Texas and Oklahoma were not top-tier clubs the last several years in the Big 12.
Yeah.
Is that not shocking to anybody else? That, and Texas specifically, but some Oklahoma basketball. Texas is a better football and basketball program in the SEC than they were in the Big 12. How does that math? I don't understand it. Oh, I know, because you go to the SEC and the bar is exponentially higher.
Yes.
You can't, and I know that a lot of people hate when I say this, but do you really expect Big 12 teams to do everything they can do to make the NCAA tournament? I don't. Do you expect Big 12 teams to do everything they can do to win every football game they play in? I don't. And that's a problem. The reality is the SEC right now is holding their athletic directors and presidents accountable, as they should. Louisville pissed at an 8th seed. Well, I think Louisville can make a case for being much higher than 8, but that's just my opinion. They essentially got home court playing in Lexington, right? But they're an 8th seed, guy. Do you understand? Louisville's road as an 8. They have to play Creighton and then probably Auburn. Do you understand? Had they been a 6, had they been a 6th, they essentially get a first round bye, and then they would have to play Iowa State. Do you want to play Iowa State or do you want to play Auburn? I think I'm going to take Iowa State. And really, I think a lot of people are arguing that they should be the 5 and Michigan should have been the 8 in that bracket. And I think I would agree with that. Because in that place, you get UC San Diego and the winner of Texas A&M and Yale. So, yeah, I'm pissed if I'm Louisville.
Yeah.
There is no – the road that Louisville was handed, it's inexplicable. That you put Louisville at an 8, and then their second round game is Auburn. That's inexplicable. Can't even fathom it. Big Ten tournament was amazing this weekend. I actually thought it was pretty mediocre. Maybe it's just me. I think teams that shoot the volume of threes, BYU is a great example of this.
Yeah.
You're not going far in the tournament.
Nope. You
can't be, and I think we're seeing a lot of this because how young college basketball players are. Remember, the 3-and-D guy. It's now the 3 and how many turnovers are you going to commit guy.
Yeah.
It certainly with a team like BYU, right? That's the plague at BYU.
Well, I also think that you have an NBA coach at BYU who came from a system, in the NBA where they shoot a lot of threes. I mean, that's what they do. And the other, hard part is at BYU, you're not the most athletic team that you're playing. So, I sit here and I watch how BYU got suffocated against Houston. And it's because you don't have size or enough size. And Houston is long and athletic and able to move their feet and able to close out on the 3. And that's what's going to limit you in the tournament.